Hey there everybody. Okay, today we're talking about the Fujifilm X-S10 and my impressions of it after having used it for about 3 or 4 weeks, mainly for video. Let's talk about the stills quality first of all. And the first thing to know is that it's the exact same photographic capabilities as the X-T4, the X-T3, and the X Pro 3, etc. It's I would call that a Gen 4 Fujifilm camera. And so I'll roll in images as we go along here. I think it's a wonderful processor. I think it's a wonderful sensor. I think the Gen 4 series Fujifilm cameras are going to go down as the sweet spot. They've announced just recently in the past couple of days that they're going to, that there's a new generation coming. I guess it's Gen 5. I don't know if there's going to be a Gen 5 processor, but there's definitely, they announced a new stacked backside illuminated new X-Trans sensor. So that's exciting, and I have a feeling that they're going to up the megapixels on that, who knows where. Somebody said that Sony had some kind of a stacked backside APS-C sensor that was like 42 megapixels. That would be insane. The resolution on these cameras already with the 26 megapixels is phenomenal. So far, my 5 portfolio images for this year were taken with APS-C Fuji X-Trans sensor, and I'm completely impressed and satisfied with the image quality. It's a wonderful sensor. To the extent that the new sensor is going to have more whoopee in it, that's a technical term, I think that's why we're seeing these new lenses. The 23-1.4 and the 33-1.4, and to a certain extent the 18mm 1.4. I think you can't just, not to invoke Pentax, but if you look at what Pentax has done, they came out with the K3 Mark III with this great sensor, and the K1 Mark II with these great sensors. But the lenses, they aren't releasing the lenses to go with the sensors. When you increase the resolution of the sensor, the older lenses, were just, some of them were up to it, but most of them weren't. And in the Fuji line, that kind of, I guess they're saying, we want our lenses to match our sensors, and I get that. That's totally cool that they're staying modern. That's something that Sony has pretty much done to a certain extent. Okay, so enough on that. Now, I will say, to compare and contrast, I have a Gen 3 Fuji camera, which is the XE3. Now, again, from a stills image standpoint, it does a beautiful job. The 24 megapixel XE3 sensor is awesome. However, when you're using the Gen 4s, the processor makes a difference in terms of video. That's where the major changes or improvements lie. From a stills standpoint, all the Fuji generations have been phenomenal, starting with the original X Pro 1. Just fantastic image quality. But where the major improvements have come is in video. And I do know that when I try to use my XE3 in a video capacity, I'm let down a little bit. It's totally capable, but the two major bottlenecks for me with using this for video, and this is really, the top edge stuff here. So it's still a phenomenal, wonderful camera. But having used the Gen 4s for video, the Gen 3s, and particularly this XE3, the lack of a Turner profile is a big deal to me. I use that a lot. And the other thing that's kind of a letdown is in 4K. I think there's a 4 gigabyte limit here because you only get 7 to 10 minutes of 4K recording. And that's a little too short for what I do. A lot of my stuff is done one take, like this video. I'm just letting it roll. And half an hour doesn't seem to be a limitation I bump up against too often. I can't remember if I ever did. But 10 minutes is a big deal. That makes me start wondering, like, oh, am I going to run out of time? So, okay. Now, let's talk about the X-S10. I am extremely familiar at this point to a certain extent, I really enjoy the Fuji interface of the XT series. I know, I mean, I can play this like an instrument. I've really learned muscle memories there. I know, like, okay, I need ISO, I know where to go. You know, and you've got these wonderful dials, exposure compensation, your shutter speed, your ISO. I set the front button for the electronic level, which I use a lot. And so from an interface standpoint, the XT series is very quick and intuitive for me. Mainly because I've used it so much and I've gotten accustomed to it. And it's taken a long time, as anyone who's watched this channel for a while knows, it's taken me a long time to warm up to these Fujis. But now I'm really kind of, when I start using something else, it starts grating because I'm so used to these. So then we come up with this X-S10 with this completely different interface. What's the main advantage of the X-S10? The main advantage is you're saving 5 ounces of weight over an X-T4. And that's a big deal if you're out on a selfie stick, although I don't know how much I'm going to be doing that because for some reason the IBIS in this, even with the IBIS and the digital stabilization, like all the stabilization on this, with this 16mm lens, it is really jerky footage. And so I don't know why that is. I think it should be smoother. The GoPro's smoother. So I'm still trying to figure that part out. The auto settings on this are very good, and I'm learning to trust them. So the AF tracking seems to be somewhat lens dependent, and that's with all the Fujis. If you have a linear motor lens, it seems to work a little bit better. But back to the interface. So this is a very different interface. This, I mean, you could kind of mimic an X-T4 or an X-T3 with the dials that they give you. So you could make this an exposure compensation dial, and you could make this your ISO dial. But that's not really how this camera works for me. What I've done is all the things that I need quick access to when I'm doing video or stills, I have put on the Q menu. And so it's in video mode now. And so there's my Q menu. And that Q menu, you can see that, it'll focus on that there. There's my Q menu. And everything that I need instant access to is on that Q menu for video. And for stills, it's the standard Q menu stuff that's on the X-T4, etc. But I mainly use the X-S10 as a lightweight vlogging, YouTube, you know, A-roll out in the field kind of a thing. And it works great for that. The video quality of these cameras is class leading to a certain extent and really industry leading. You know, the 10-bit files in camera with 4K 60, I mean, now the X-S10 has 8-bit. You're limited to 8-bit. It'll do 10-bit with an external recorder, but let's be honest, as Casey at Camera Conspiracy says, you ain't never going to do that. And 8-bit's fine. All of the Sonys, except for the really high-end video models, are 8-bit. So, and they do great video as well. So that's just one aspect of great video. But these cameras do really, really beautiful video. And 10-bit is one of the things that the X-T4 brings to the table, if that's important to you. It's beyond my skills so far, but my video capabilities are increasing all the time. Just a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I switched over to DaVinci Resolve, and that really upped my game, and so I'm excited about that. But the one thing that the X-T4 and the X-S10 have in common, which is great, like I'm using it right now on the X-T4 to record this video, the flip out screen, I can kind of see what I'm doing. You have to train yourself to look at the lens and not the screen all the time. But, and of course, it's the fully articulated screen, and of course the X-S10 has the same thing. But these cameras do not play nice with L brackets. So, so for the X-S10, which I bought specifically and primarily as a video camera, I have the little Ciru plate on it, and that's fine because videos are always going to be horizontals, not verticals. I bought an L bracket just to have it while they're, I mean, this was one of the cheap ones, and these are great. You get them off of Amazon or eBay. I think it was like 20 bucks. Great L bracket, but the articulated screen, like you basically, it becomes a fixed screen. The articulation doesn't really work at all with the L bracket on it. You can move the L out, etc., whatever. So in an emergency, if my XT3 died and I was out in Zion or something, I could, and all I had with me was this. What I'd probably do is just go vertical on the tripod with this little Ciru plate. I probably wouldn't use the L bracket at all, but it's nice to have. And there's kind of the same thing with the XT4. The XT4 is a little bit different. It has a grip on the L bracket, and I pretty much took the L part off, and I just used the plate part and the grip part. It works great. But that's why I prefer the XT3. I'm dropping it here. That's why I prefer the XT3 as my stills camera, because the L bracket works great, and I get a vertical articulation on the screen, and I get a horizontal articulation on the screen. And this screen is my preferred screen for stills photography. So where does that leave me? Well, pretty much it leaves me with 3 cameras with identical image quality that each do the same thing in slightly different ways. And and in some ways, like, kudos to Fuji to get me to buy 3 different cameras that do pretty much the same thing. However, they're different enough, and that you can specialize with them. Now, pardon me, could I do everything that I'm doing with 2 XT3s? Absolutely. I could do it with 1 XT3 if I didn't have to do video, right? Because I need to be taking pictures with 1 camera while I'm filming myself taking pictures with another camera, so I can be an epic photographer like you know, these YouTube stars are. So so there's that. So I need 2 cameras, and so my 2 cameras of choice for hiking around are the XT3 for stills and the X-S10 for video, unless I'm in inclement weather, and then I would go with the XT4. So pretty much my main stills camera is the XT3, and that hasn't changed. But the X-S10 and the XT4 are kind of interchangeable, where I would lean to the XT4 in a situation where I need the XT4's specific talents, mainly the weather sealing. So there is that. And then with the X-S10, I would lean this way when I want to save the weight for doing a hike, that kind of a thing. And the beautiful part of the Fuji system is all 3 of these cameras, in a pinch, can do the job of, they all do the same thing, just one is a little bit more preferred than the other. So there is that. So yeah, I need to talk one last point about the batteries. Now, obviously this doesn't cover everything. This is just, you know, again, further impressions down the road of different cameras. I really like the size and the weight. The interface isn't bad. The 126 batteries are not that much of a problem. I know that they wear out, and I know that they run out pretty quickly. So I have lots of them. They're small, they're lightweight, they're cheap, and I'm ready to swap them all the time. Not a big deal. What's surprising is on the XT4, that new improved battery, yeah, it's a little bit better, but you know what? It runs down, for video in particular. Yeah, I need to have a couple of, so the difference is with the XT4, I have 3 spares, and with these I have 5 spares. So, and I mean, that's kind of a big deal, but the XT4 battery isn't as big an improvement as I thought it was going to be. So just, I'll throw that out there as a data point for everyone else. It's not like these newer batteries, like the Sony Z battery. I will hand it to Sony. I don't know how they did that. I agree completely. That battery is really something else. Okay, that's the one of the few. I mean, the things that Sony does right are the batteries and the autofocus. No question about it. So, so yeah, the XT4 battery is no Sony Z battery. All right, it's better than the 126 battery, but you're still in the same game, and it's really not that big a deal as long as you're ready for it and you know it's gonna, and you know you're gonna have to swap it. It's not that big a deal. So some thoughts on the X-S10, the X-T4, the X-T3, how it all fits together in my system, and still learning the camera. I will say the interface is great. Once I put everything I need in video mode on that Q menu in the back, it really made a difference. I have to turn the IBIS on, off, and select it. I put that in the Q menu. Awesome. So yeah, so there it is. Once you get the stuff on the Q menu, so pretty much you know that I know that if there's something I'm looking for, it's on the Q menu. The only other thing that I use all the time is the level, and what I did is I kept the swipe function on, and I just swipe down to get the level and swipe down to turn it off. Fantastic. The XC3, I have to leave the level on all the time, and that's annoying because I don't like to have the level on all the time. But on these Gen 4 cameras, the X-T4, X-T3, X Pro 3, X-S10, you've got that really cool level, the full information level that you can toggle on and off, and that's a great thing. Another thing I really like about this camera is that when you do have it flipped out, when you want to plug your microphone in, it's a little plug up at the top here, right there, so you can see your screen because your plug's not in the way. Actually, it'd be in the front here. So on the X-T4, those flappy things are stupid. And that's a step backwards because it's actually better on the X-T3 with that door you could even remove. Those little flaps that pop out on the X-T4 are ridiculous. So other than that, there's some thoughts on the X-S10, and it's a great camera, and I'm really enjoying it. And there it is. So it's my lightweight video camera that can also be my backup stills camera, which is a great thing. One-stop shop. Fantastic. And of course, the image quality and the video quality is terrific. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Have a great one. We'll catch you guys later. Bye. Hey there. I have a modest and simple request. If you enjoy my videos and want to help support my channel so I can continue to make more videos that you want to see ad-free, then I ask you to please do 3 simple things. Number 1, hit the subscribe button. Number 2, hit the like button. And number 3, hammer that bell. These 3 things cost you nothing and it'll take up about 10 seconds of your time. But at the very least, just subscribe. It really helps small channels like mine stay in the game. And it really means the world to me. So thanks so much for your support. Thanks for watching. And please, if you've got a moment and you want to, please subscribe. Hit the like button and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye.